to answer today, because we are at a relative time crunch today. Usually the user groups will be an all-day event, but due to it being an online segment, we've tried to minimize how much time you need to spend online. Also, just for your knowledge, we are recording the session. But of course, again, if you stay muted, you won't be captured saying anything, of course. So again, welcome to today's International Use Group. Who will be presenting today will be Michael, it will be Ole, and it will be myself, Kasper. So Michael will be the one, and Ole as well, answering questions along the way. Mike will also make the outro remarks, do the closing remarks, and Ole will be doing the tips and tricks. I have a few slides before we get to the agenda, just in order to thank all of you who are attending today. This is just a small snip of who's attending, but it's really, really amazing to see customers from the UK, from Ireland, from Germany, from the Netherlands, from Egypt, from Greece, from Hungary, and so on and so forth. It's really great to see that we can get so many together. I think we are above 81 signups for today. Also, I want to extend a thank you to all of you who has participated in some of the surveys that we have released this year. First one I want to mention is the NPS Today survey. So we're starting to utilize these NPS surveys in order to gauge our customer satisfaction, and that's really, as you could probably understand, is really important to us. And the results so far has been very, very positive. So far we have 45% promoters, which when you hear 45 is probably not that much, but it is actually because the promoters are only the ones that rates 9 to 10. So that's really a good result. So thank you for that, and we'll be issuing them later this year as well, and we'll keep doing so in order to make sure that you stay happy customers. Then you've probably also seen all the marketing we've done on the BARC BI survey. As you know, we were the leaders in 8 categories in the 2019 survey. You've just completed answering and participating in the survey for the 2020 research paper, which will be released in this fall. Also a new thing, and I know Lars, our VP of Sales, mentioned this at the first segment of this week, that we're also now a part of the Dresdner Advisory BI market study. And so far that has also yielded very good results, and we will be releasing the study later on as well, very shortly. And I can tell you that Target scores above average on all parameters and is recognized as an overall leader. The research paper from Dresdner also includes a lot of trends and a lot of knowledge in general in the BI landscape that has nothing to do with Target, so it could be an interesting read. So please be on the lookout for that. It'll be out soon. So again, just to extend a thank you, it really means a lot to us. We use these surveys, and especially the NPS Today survey, to start sharpening our offering, and of course, trying to be much more to you guys. So keep it up. Thank you very much. So before getting to the actual agenda, I just have a few things that I want to share with you, because what is new since the last user groups that were held in October last year. We did, of course, intend to do one this spring, but for obvious reasons that was not possible, which is why we're doing this online today. Since then, update 3, 4, and 5 has been released. Especially in the update 3, there has been introduced a lot of new features. I know many of you is already on that version, but for those who are not, I can really recommend upgrading to update 3, 4, or 5 because there are features such as scheduled publishing. There are features such as generic embedding, OpenID, and supporting OpenID, and iterating on report pages, for example. You can find much more of the new features on our documentation site, which you find through our website. Usually we also cover the product roadmap for the upcoming major release. Again, due to time restraints, we took that out of the use group and put it into a session yesterday that was called Product Deep Dive 2020. We will also be releasing another roadmap webinar later this year, so you can get some glimpse into what's coming. The next major release is expected to be out in October. So we will be doing a webinar where we show you some sneak peeks later on, before October, of course. But other than that, please be on the lookout for the product deep dive 2020 session from yesterday, which will also was recorded. Another important thing to mention is that the old reporting engine, as we call it, is end of life. So when we enter 2021 and the next release in 2021, the old reporting engine will be no longer supported. So you need to start looking at converting your old reports into the new report engine, which is what the feedback we've gotten from customers is far superior to the old one. So it should be a pleasant move. Also on our website, on the documentation side, you can find more information on how you can easily convert all reports into new ones by basically using the tabbed function and just Control-C, Control-V from one report to the new. But of course, again, regarding the product roadmap, regarding the old reporting engine being end of life, please reach out to your partner or please reach out directly to us for more information. Also, just to highlight something internally we've done is, of course, at TARGIT we continue to develop. We continue to our journey, our evolutionary journey, and by that we have also changed our communication channels. We've changed our tone of voice going forward, and alongside that we've launched a new website, which should make it far easier for customers and partners to find relevant information on our website. So please have a look. The website is still the same, www.targit.com, and then start browsing around. So the agenda for today, as you know, we've tried to push in the top most requested segments of our normal use groups, which are of course customer presentations, which is by far the most popular segment, and then the target tips and tricks with Ole as well. So first off, we will be doing 2 customer presentations. Then we'll be doing the target tips and tricks. That segment will be around 20 minutes, and then finish off with two customer presentations as well. The customer presentations will be approximately 20 minutes each. The questions that you will be posting in the chat function, we will ask the presenters after their presentation, if we have time. And by those words, I'm really excited to introduce our first presenter, Dr. Charles Heppel from M3EU, a data scientist. I will allow Charles to introduce himself and introduce M3EU as a company. Charles, I will stop sharing my screen, and hopefully you can take on from there.
Right, hello everyone. I assume everyone can see my screen?
Yeah, we can, yes.
Good. Let's get started. Okay. Well, first I'd like to say thank you to Target for letting me present here today. So today I'll be talking about how M3 uses Target. First, probably a bit of background of M3 and myself. As said, I'm the data scientist for M3, and I really try to gather insights from all the data that we record at M3. I'm probably with a lot of you here by saying that we have a lot of data in our company, and it's really how can we use all of that data to benefit our business. M3, our goal is pretty much as it's stated on here, and it's really focused on helping doctors around the world. There we go. So M3 as a whole, we provide lots of services for doctors. We're a very much global company, but I work in the UK, so I mainly focus on UK doctors really, and there we pretty much provide, in simple terms, we provide a digital platform for doctors to come together. We provide services like a forum for them to talk to, a library, email, education, jobs or careers, promotional content from companies that want to relay messages to doctors along the UK. Really, I see this as pretty much like a nice triangle here. We've got the doctors or nurses. I mainly work with the doctors, but maybe UK students there as well. And they come onto our digital platform where they can view content for prescribing drugs, let's say, from pharmaceutical companies. And all of this will help benefit patients. So that's our main goal we try to do. Now, how we really use Target here, I mainly focus on like the dashboards and reports that it gives me. Without Target, I would be spending all day answering little small requests from our company. For example, what are doctors doing on the site? Very general question. What are, let's say, cardiologists, senior cardiologists? Well, that's senior cardiologists in London. What are they doing on the site? How long are they on the site for? Which area of the site are they using? And things like that. I'll be answering these questions day in and day out. Now, the main reason I use Target all the time is standardize. I standardize the reports, so I just pick an education module and out pops all the information that I want to see and relay to the company. And get started. So when I or anyone else logs into Target, we get this landing page where we've got links to many other landing pages and other reports, and I'll be going through a couple of them today, trying to make it easy for everyone to understand all the data that this is collecting. So first, let's go on the activity one on the top left. I'll hopefully show you what activity is on the digital platform. So here, as one of the first dashboards, we've got filters at the top here. We've got general practice. This is only looking at the general practice doctors that are signed up to M3. And we can see here in the middle, we've got active 90. So that's how many general practice doctors have been on DNUK or doctors.net for in the last 90 days. And you can see here we measure the A90 quite often, but here we've got active 1. That goes up and down. As you see, this is actually a graph looking at every day in 2020. As you can see, it goes up and down quite a lot here. It's actually Sundays, it goes down, and Tuesdays it's at the highest. I mean, without looking at this with all our data, we wouldn't have known these small bits of information that can actually benefit us. Maybe we shouldn't push lots of emails or promotional content or things like that on Sundays because there's less people there on Sunday and things like that. As you see, the active 91 through the COVID-19 outbreak, we've actually seen a bit of an increase here and a bit of an increase here lately. So we're actually looking quite strong during these periods. So you can gather quite a lot of insights just looking at the active insights there. Now we've got lots of people in the company monitor these and try to grow these. So without having a standard dashboard like this, it would take them a long time just to even get these numbers. Moving on to the next one, we create this is more of a simple digital profile for doctors visiting one area of the site, where we can filter down to time of day. So when are these doctors visiting this area of the site? And at the moment, this is just going to hematology. Again, we can filter out specialty at the top here, and this will just give out a nice simple digital profile of those doctors, where we can give to clients or use internally to help our internal communications. We've got maybe on the right here, maybe we'll care about the daily activity. Depends what the whole question is we're trying trying to answer here, this will hopefully give us a bit more insight into what these group of doctors are doing. Again, this one, all of these dashboards and reports comes from the landing page we're on. So this one's looking at new doctors to doctors.net. So we have new doctors sign up to our digital platform every day. As you can see here, I have blacked out a couple of them just to be on the cautious side, so apologies for ruining the visualization of it. But we see here, we can see the change year on year. Is it going up? Is it going down? Are we expecting a lot of doctors to come in? As you see, like July, August time, we're actually seeing quite a bit of a spike. So is that the time we expect lots of doctors to be coming in? In fact, it is. It's about when they actually finish their degrees. And this is all interactive, this one. So you can click on 2020 at the top left and everything would filter down. As you said, let's actually go through it. Let's click on that one. Everything filters down to just looking at 2020. And we can see, is it doing good or is it not doing good? Maybe we send out messages to doctors to try to get them on the site and sign up, and we see how good that was. So we'll maybe want to look at one day. Q1 January. Let's look at this one day here, 29th. And then you can see the specialty breakdown of them, so we can see actually who signed up on that one day. We've got an email, so we provide an email service for the doctors as well. I mean, on one of the emails, we send out bulletins to them with lots of interesting content, and we would like to know constantly how many people are actually receiving these emails. This dashboard here, we can see how many people are actually seeing this email against how many people are actually active on the site. It's actually increasing nicely. And we can pick a specialty down here because normally you're interested in a particular specialty. Let's pick cardiology. Everything filters to just cardiology, and you see that's actually increasing nicely as well. Actually, how many people are receiving these emails? So then hopefully we know how many people are actually going to click on something on these emails and actually see some of the content that we've provided for them. Moving on to that, actually clicking on it, we can see actually how many people click on that specific email on that day. So this is just looking at how many clicks we've got. We've got the subject areas, the pie charts. So maybe interested in the job section in that email. So we can click on there, and then everything here would filter just that job. So we can see per month or per day or per quarter. Is it increasing? Is it not increasing? So we can monitor it from here and actually make future predictions and where we want to get to. Now, this wouldn't be possible without the standardizing these reports like this. Now, moving on, all the ones previously that I've discussed are more internal reports. Now, we have a lot of external reports that go out as well. This is just one of them, where it looks at content that we've provided for the doctors from pharmaceutical companies. So we build a campaign and then we promote it to doctors hosted on our site. And we would like to know how many doctors visited that campaign. So this is another word where we standardized it. So we've picked a campaign here. How many doctors have come to that campaign? What's their time spent on that campaign? How many times have they come back? When did they come? Who were they? What are these specialties down here? We can filter out, do they prescribe drug A from this company? All things like that. And we've got this insight box here. We can write in a lot of insights. Is this hitting a normal one? Is it performing really well? So I'll go through with our client services team and pick out little snippets from when we present back to the client. Is your campaign doing well? We can move on to other ones, like how often do they return? Do they return once, twice, 3 times? Are they really interested? What device do they use? It goes on with lots of them. We've got a whole page breakdown. So some of the content that they provide, it's 5 pages, or rather than just 1 page. And then maybe we've got pop-ups or drop-downs or links to PDF downloads. We want to know how many people have actually clicked on this call to action, and we can monitor this in this way. And we can see where they are in UK as well. So their internal things, maybe they're interested in just in London, or maybe they're interested, they don't know where these doctors are interested. This can give them an idea of that. But the key word in all of this is we're trying to standardize this reporting so it's easy for all of our internal clients to use and get all the data they want straight from one product. That is all my slides, so thank you for listening, everyone.
Thank you very much, Charles.
Thank you.
I do have a question for you though. So now you showed us what you're looking at regarding activity, but I know that you're also looking into expanding the solution to provide reporting for your customers. Are there any upcoming projects you're looking at?
Charles, are you able to unmute yourself?
Unmute, there we go. I got muted there. Okay, apologies. Yeah, so as I said very quietly there, so as I was saying, we have one client at the moment where they log in and actually have a dashboard bespoke for them, and they can see how their campaigns are coming along. I am rolling out more, so more clients can actually see straight away how their campaigns are doing and get insights from there. This is more of a longer term project we're trying to roll out for this. So actually we do send off the target reports to our clients and present them.
Thanks for the answer, Charles. Is there an echo while I'm talking here, or is it good? Oh, it sounds good. Actually, I think what Casper asked about and what you mentioned here, Charles touched upon a very important trend that we see at the moment among many target customers. The fact that your BI is not necessarily only something for internal use, but something that you also share with customers, with partners, with different interests in the organization. So this is really something that we see a lot. We've seen good examples all over the world where it becomes a kind of an open data platform, and this is really something that is really trending at the moment. If any of the participants have questions for Charles, then please do write them in the chat box. I think we have a couple of minutes, so if there are any questions, we would very much like to get them on the table.
Yes, you are right. We are pushing down more internally and more externally in the reporting structure that we do. When I can put more of the dashboards together, more of them will be coming externally, as I believe this is quite key for us to do.
Perfect. Well, I don't think there are any further questions coming in here, but Charles, thanks a lot for doing the presentation. Some really nice visualizations, and again, I think this that you both have an internal and external perspective on the BI is something that is really helping a lot of companies, and more companies are starting to use BI in that way. So it's great to see what you're doing on that, helping both yourself but also your clients with your BI solution. Perfect. Let's see if we can get the slides back to Casper, if that's possible. Perfect. Good. So let's move on to the next speaker for the session here today, and that's Sander from Proponent. And I'm sure Sander will have a lot of interesting stuff to show as well. So Sander, I'll just give the word over to you, and let's see if we can actually also get your screen shared. And if you have problems, of course, let us know.
Sure. Can I take over control myself in this case? I guess so.
You should be able to, yeah. It's working.
Okay, excellent. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone, wherever you are around the world. Thank you very much, Target team, for giving me the opportunity to share some information with you all about the journey of dashboards that we are currently going through. In the next 20 minutes, I would like to take the opportunity to do a short introduction on who we are as a company. I'll explain to you a little bit about the dashboards and reports that we are currently using in the company, and also how dashboards and to some extent the reports that we use are evolving, and also a future outlook on the possibilities that we see using Target dashboard software. In short, we are the world's largest independent aerospace aftermarket spare part distributor, which means that we provide everything from small screws, nuts and bolts all the way up to engine parts for the aerospace market. Over 45 years in business, and we have 3 main warehouses and several offices around the world. Some numbers here. We distribute 54 million parts yearly, and we cover 90% of the maintenance, repair and overhaul business and 86% of the commercial aircraft business. In short, who am I? I am the pricing optimization manager at Proponent. It's a relatively new department within our company, and I've taken on this responsibility since December last year. I have a degree in user experience and user design, as well as in aviation management. And I'm a Dutch national. Not sure if that would make any difference, but in short, if we look at the collaboration between Target and ourselves, that goes back, I believe, almost 10 years. And over those 10 years, we had several of my colleagues that attended training and courses and webinars and conferences from Target. As mentioned, I've only been in this position for a few months, but already I have had the opportunity to take some of those courses, and I can only acknowledge that they are very useful, and the way it's been structured is very is in such a way that there's a steep learning curve in my case. If we look at the way we as a company are currently using reports and dashboards, I would say that we develop them in a rather reactive way. And by that, I mean that someone within the company has an idea, he or she comes to our department, or the department that I am part of. One of my fellow colleagues will build the dashboard, and it's launched, and that is, in most of the cases, that's the final station. Unfortunately, there is not a lot of interconnection and consistency amongst those reports and dashboards. And I truly believe that there is a great opportunity for us as a company to optimize the way we use dashboards. And by doing so, we enable ourselves to make far better data-driven decisions. What I will show you in the next couple of slides is a bit of the evolution around the dashboard that me and my team have created over the last 2 or 3 months, with assistance and great help from some of the Target consultants. And what I will show you is how an idea that started around March, which obviously was the COVID-19 pandemic was triggering some of the questions that came to me for my pricing team, obviously. Now, let's see, this shouldn't be here yet. This is an example of, well, this is an overview of the reports that we and dashboards that we currently have. So as you can see, this underlines my previous statement that we have a lot of reports. Every department has one or even multiple reports, and well, without going in too much detail, there is an opportunity here by aligning some of the reports. Now, if you look at the what I would call the new approach, what we've noticed in our little dashboard journey is that it is extremely important to get a good understanding of the true need of your customer. So if someone comes to you, or in this case to us, with a question of, in our case, okay, we foresee that there will be an impact on our business because of the COVID-19 impact. Okay, what is it that you foresee? What is the kind of information that you are looking for? And I think this approach can make a big difference within our company, but I think in general it is very important to ensure yourself and your team, or whoever is going to build the dashboard eventually, to be very clear and accurate upfront in what is it that your customer or your client actually wants to see. And I will show you in the next few slides what I mean by that, because yeah, we face the same challenges, and in all honesty, we are still struggling a little bit because we haven't clearly defined the outcome at the start. If you want to take it really seriously, I would also definitely recommend to apply some of the usability techniques, like for example, paper prototyping, which it's written as paper prototype, but you can also use a digital version. And as mentioned before, the slides are shared with you, so you can click on these hyperlinks to get more information. Card sorting is also an interesting technique to understand upfront when you build a dashboard or basically any kind of user interface. You can identify what the client is expecting after a certain action. So let's say whenever he pushes a button, what does he or she expect, and what is the sequence of information that will follow. What helped us a lot is to get inspiration from various, well, in this case, online sources. Target Solutions is a great resource where I believe it's freely accessible. You can get inspiration on, designing various sorts of dashboards. And as the previous presenter showed, it could be something with a map that is for us a little bit less relevant in this case, but by getting your inspiration online, Pinterest also has a lot of examples of dashboards that might be useful for you. There are plenty of YouTube tutorials that can inspire you as well. And it's my absolute belief that if you do your preparation well, the building of the dashboard itself is probably the least of your concerns, right? If you ensure yourself that you have your wireframe ready, you have a clear understanding about all the dimensions, the criteria, the crosscuts, the timeframes, etc. Building the dashboard itself, especially with the very user-friendly software from Target, is probably the least of your concerns. Now, as mentioned, my team and I, we were asked to to provide insight in how our customer behavior is changing as a result of the COVID-19 crisis. So basically trying to figure out which parts that we sell are being impacted. So either this could be that we see a huge increase in demand because other competitors might be out of stock, or which unfortunately is of course more obvious, is that where we see a decrease in demand on certain parts. Now we first started out by drafting something in Excel. So yeah, the initiative was okay. We have all the ingredients. That means that we have our data warehouses with all the information there. So instinctively we went to dashboard. We went to Excel and started drafting there. However, from the moment that we shared some of this information, it basically brought more questions than answers. So we started to add more information, and by doing so, of course, it increased the complexity. Excel is, as you know, it's a great spreadsheet application, but it's not built as a visualization tool. So by adding more elements, by adding more rules, by adding more complexity and layout features, the spreadsheet itself became quite large, and at a certain point it took more than 10 minutes to actually load it, and any change you made took more than 10 minutes. So in the end it became very unpractical. So at a certain stage we decided to go back to the drawing board and see how we could utilize the Target software in such a way that we could merge this information into a more user-friendly and especially a quicker dashboard. And this is the result so far. So what we did is, by doing interviews with our customers, in this case our colleagues from the product management team, we were able to identify some of the key measures. So the first question we asked them is, how do you define change in demand? And the interesting thing is that there was no straightforward answer. So we took them back and we did some sessions on defining how do we quantify change. And by doing so, we had an overall definition on how we define change, and this we implemented in the dashboard. But what we've also noticed is that before going into all this information that you see here, the product managers like to have a more general overview, and based on the change in demand, they could make a selection and then take it to a deeper level. And that is what we basically did. So in this case, the product manager could sort the part numbers based on the percentage change. They click on Move for Deeper Analysis, and it ends up in what we call the PXO report. And there they will see much more detailed information on changes in margin, changes in sales prices, how many unique customers. And this is a report that we will extend over the next couple of weeks and months. So by adding more information, that could be internal information, but also external information from industry relevant resources, databases, we enable our product managers to make far more accurate and better data-driven decisions. What we've noticed is that this is, as mentioned, this is a journey. This is something that is probably never perfect from the first moment, and we've recognized that, and we're taking that in our future approach. Now, what we have discovered is that it's, as mentioned before, it's not for us, a dashboard is never the final station. It's never the final solution. So in this case, we ensure ourselves that we are constantly trying to update the dashboard by staying in touch with the users, with the user groups, the target groups. But we also invite, for example, other companies to get inspiration to see how are you dealing with certain questions. And of course, this can be completely different companies, but also other distributors, for example, for car parts. We can identify, we can ask them, how are you dealing with, how do you quantify change in demand? And as mentioned before, we have worked closely with some of the target consultants, and we are very pleased to continue that into the near future. So that is all I have to share with you. If you have any questions, please ask them in the text box, or perhaps via Casper or Michael.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks a lot, Sander. And I got an email from one of the attendees that some might not be able to see the chat box. So then, of course, it's a little bit difficult to post questions. But if some of you can't see the chat box but have a question, then it would be okay that you unmute yourself to ask the question, and then mute yourself afterward. I think we can manage that. But in general, there's a few comments. Casper said here that it looks fantastic. I agree. Johannes also wrote a nice idea. I think that this was around talking with other customers to kind of share experiences, how you do things. And Caroline also really likes the evolution from Excel to dashboards. So thumbs up for that. I would say that I also really like the tips that you gave around the paper prototyping and card sorting. Now, Sander, you worked a little bit with one of our front-end consultants, Mybrit, I believe.
Yes.
And I know she actually does something similar, also prototypes ideas on a piece of paper or in a PowerPoint. It doesn't have to be, of course, all the details, but just getting an idea of what is it that we are trying to design, what are the questions that we're trying to answer. And it can be a real time saver to actually do some thinking about it, as you also said before starting to do the design. So that's really nice. You also mentioned target solutions. I will come back to it a little bit later on, but yes, that's a very good place to gather some inspiration. So but are there anyone that can see the dashboard, the chat box, that have some questions? I think there's one coming up here. There's a question. Have your management team become less reactive since the evolution or the new dashboards? Is that something that you can monitor or feel?
Well, the interesting thing is that although we started with a very small question, we could very clearly see that as the dashboard evolved, basically week by week, you could hear more questions from every corner of the company, be it operations, but also from management to ask where they ask for more, basically more details. So it worked well as an inspiration. It raised more questions, which is obviously a very good thing. But we are not in a stage yet where we have fully implemented it. We are in the final stages, and I'm pretty sure that our management, although this is not a dashboard that is designed for to give high-level information on where we are seeing change in demand. This is more on a product manager level. So, but yeah, we can easily copy, paste, and rebuild it in such a way that it gives more high-level management information, so they are able to also make better data-driven decisions. Yeah,
that's perfect, and it's always a good indicator of the utilization of a tool when people start to ask questions. So that's always a good thing.
I guess so. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, perfect. Any final questions? As mentioned, if some of you have issues seeing the meeting chat, then you can also unmute yourself to ask the question.
Okay.
I think that was it. Sander, thanks a lot for the presentation. It was great to see your journey and some examples of dashboards. So thanks a lot. And
My pleasure.
let's see if we can get Kasper's screen up again. Yeah, we have it. And next on stage, we have a Target internal, Ole Düring, who is head of the Target University. And yeah, as Kasper also mentioned earlier, many of you who have also participated in physical user groups have probably also heard Ole's tips and tricks session before. Of course, it's not the same tips and tricks, but in general, this is a very, very well received presentation with some, yeah, and Ole knows Target very, very well, so he can do some cool stuff. So Ole, just take it away if you're able to share your screen.
Yeah, I will. Thank you very much. Well, one of the things that Sander said was that apparently only you should use 5% of your time to designing the dashboards. That may be correct. Nonetheless, that's what you're going to see now, some tips and tricks on how to design your dashboards. I hope you can see my screen now. Michael, let me know if you can't, but you should be seeing my start screen in the Target client here.
Yeah, I see it.
Right. Okay. So I don't know if you recall from the slides, but I'm going to probably show you 4 or 5 tips and tricks. Let's see how much time we got. But the first one is about user dimensions and how you can actually utilize those user dimensions on your criteria bar in a nice way. So, for instance, if you have a dashboard like this with a user dimension up here, like the time dimension, this one here, I mean, you can go here and use these static options, and maybe this time dimension has also been enabled to use dynamic periods. Then from the development line, you can right click and use dynamic periods, and then you get all of these options here. Now, for the standard end user, all these options may be just a little bit too overwhelming, too many options here, and maybe even they don't see the options that they need. We got something like previous 12 months, we got something like previous month, but what about the previous 3 months? What if that was important? I'm not talking about the previous quarter, but just the previous 3 months. So instead of using these predefined options, maybe you should try to design your own user dimensions with the 4 or 5 or 6 dynamic criteria on the list, and then you would be able to place that on your criteria bar instead of this these standard options from the standard time dimension. So, well, to create a new user dimension, you can do that in 2 ways. Either you can click on any object here and then go into source data and use dimensions. You can add some of your existing ones, or you can create a new one from here. But maybe you know it, maybe not. You can also go through tools here and create a use dimension from here. One of the benefits of doing it this way is that when you create it from up here, it will actually become a shared use dimension right away. And it has to be a shared use dimension in order to go onto the criteria bar. If you just create it on one of the objects, it will actually become a local use dimension. I just noticed here that I got a couple of criteria I want to get rid of. There you go. Okay, so if I want to go here and create a new use dimension, I'll simply go here and add a new one, and you can give it a title. So this one could be my own dynamic options or whatever. This is just a title that I put in here just in order for being able to recognize it once it's going into my source data use dimension list over here, and once I need to use it for maybe other dashboards, etc. And then you can start adding members here. So if I go here and log into this sales group upon the which this dashboard has been designed, we can then pick some of the dynamic options. Well, initially, once I get here, you'll see as a designer, you'll see all the predefined ones. Actually, maybe we should pick it from the same, this one here. So these will be all the predefined ones that we saw from up here. And yeah, all right, we will want to use the previous 12 months thing here. That'll be one element or one member here. We'll also want to use the previous 12 months of previous year, etc. And I'm going to add also previous month from down here, and also previous month, previous year, this one here. But also I want to add a few more here, previous 3 months and previous 3 months, previous year. And if I go here and try to add those, they are not really on the list here. But then again, you can just pick one that is pretty close to it. That'd be something like this one here, and then go and modify the criteria, the dynamic criteria itself. So instead of looking at the previous 12 months, we have a range starting 12 months back, as it says here. We'll just need a range starting 3 months back like this. So okay on that. And the member title probably needs to be changed here. So that'll be the previous 3 months for that one. And then I need the previous 3 months of previous year. So again, go here and pick this one because it's pretty close to what I need. But the criteria here, instead of starting 12 months back of previous year, should just be starting 3 months back of previous year. And give it a proper title again, previous 3 months here. So in this way, I created these or this single use dimension with these 6 members here. And if I go here and say, all right, I would like to have this one to be on the top, and maybe the previous month, previous year to be the next one, you see I can rearrange it here. And maybe I should just have done that in the correct order from the beginning. Otherwise, you can arrange it as you like. So maybe at this point I'm done. I can go here and click OK. So I created a new shared user dimension. And this also means that when I go into my source data now, it's right over here. It was called my own dynamic options. And from now, since it is a shared use dimension, you will be able to add it to your criteria where for this dashboard or for any other dashboard. So it goes up here and we have these options here. And maybe this one is already something that could replace the previous term dimension over here. So you might want to go here and remove that one and just put this one into this place here. Well, 2 things. Notice when I go here, maybe I should go into consumer mode. When I go here and use the drop-down list, I could then pick, let's say, the previous 3 months. All right, we are in June 2020, so it'll give me a date for May, April, and March of 2020. That's fine. I can also pick previous 3 months of previous year, but notice that we've got radio buttons here. So right now it's a single select option. And indeed, it does give me the previous 3 months of previous year, so May, April, March of 2019 in that case. But right now, I cannot select both of them because I cannot multi-select those. But maybe you noticed when I created this use dimension, I'll just go back here and edit it, this one here. I apparently have an option here called Allow Multi-Select. And you should think that, okay, if I do this, then I will be able to multi-select from here. But there is one requirement more to it. And in order for this to actually to be able to work with multi-selects, you need to make sure that all of these 6 elements here are using the same operator. This one here, actually. And I could also click it here. So the operator I'm using here is a between operator. I'll need that for looking into a 12 months period like this. And the same goes for the other 3 ones here, including this one here. This one is also using a between operator. However, those 2 up here, they're not really using a between operator, because why should they? They're just using an equal to operator, because this one is just looking at one particular month equal to relatively previous months of previous year, as you see it here. But in order to actually use this allow multi-select here, I need to change this one into a between operator. Now I can actually do it here because it's just a between operator. It'll give me a range from previous month, previous year to previous month, previous year. Actually, the same month. It will still only show 1 month. And I have to do the same one for this one here. So use a between operator for this one, looking at from previous month to previous month. Still, will just show previous month. Okay, on that. So now I've done that. Allow multi-select and OK here. And close that. Now, if I go here, you probably won't see a change yet. It was still these radio buttons, single select option here. I need to actually remove it from my criteria bar and then go and reapply it to criteria bar, and I can move it over here again. And now we can see that you can actually do multi-selects. So I think instead of using the original time dimension with all the predefined dynamic criteria upon that, you can create your own user dimension with a selected number of dynamic criteria in this case, and then make it as a shared user dimension. You can do that by creating through the tools user dimension option here, and then add it, right click, add it to the criteria bar. And there you go. This will also work for your end users, consumer users in the Anywhere client. One more small thing here. It's actually been a feature that's been around for quite a while. If you're not happy with the things like my own dynamic options up here, maybe it should be dynamic months or something like that instead, you can actually go here and any dimension or user dimension that you add to your criteria bar, you have an option to rename it. So let's call this one dynamic months instead. And OK on that. So now it looks like that. And when I save the dashboard and reopen it, it will still be looking like this. You can also do that with a standard user, this is not a user dimension, but a standard dimension. You can also go and rename any of those on the criteria bar if you want to. That could be extremely helpful. Sometimes you have dimensions with very long names, and it looks, especially in the Anywhere client, it looks a bit awkward.
Ole,
okay.
There's one question to this feature here. I think maybe we can just take it right now.
Yes, please.
It's from Charles. Is there a way for a one-to-one mapping for user dimension except for 2 elements without adding all the elements manually? So I guess it's an except option he's looking for.
All right. So like here, well, when you add it, when you work with use dimensions from the criteria bar up here, all of these options will actually work as, let's say, equal to the previous 3 months. So what if you're asking for if you could do a different from one of these 3, then no, you cannot do that, not from the criteria bar. Then you will need to be able to go into the the criteria editor and add criteria. But right now, this dynamic months is actually not part of my standard dimensions. Then I'll need to share it in a slightly different way to put it in there, maybe in order to be able to do this. But just to show you something else here, product and hierarchy, I think what you're asking for is, can you do something like this different from one of these, and then in other words, showing all the other data.
And also, I guess when you're building a user dimension, let's say you're building a user dimension with salesperson groups, then you would actually also be able to build a user dimension including salespersons from A to M.
Yeah.
Without having to map each of them.
Yeah. I actually have an example here. Product brands. Notice my product list over here. We got Armani products, Bus products, Boswell products, etc. Now, what I did here is to create one here. I did, however, go in here and just pick from the list. So I'm including from the first Armani product to the last Armani product. And then, yes, if you got more Amani products that goes in between this list here, they will actually automatically be included here. But you can also work with this custom value option here. And to include all Amani products, you would then go something like this, all right? So purely alphabetically, I would like to know all products starting with Amani and go on to those maybe with Amani, set. And then again, when you use this custom value, it'll pick up anything that goes in between this. Anything starting with Amani will actually be above the first Amani product that you see here. Amani, set in this case will be below the last one here. So again, if you get more products within this list, they will automatically be picked up by this these custom value list here. But let's just have a look at this one here. So the one that I created here with these different brands, it's not something that I already got in my standard data warehouse, but now created that as a user dimension, shared one as well. And this one can also be added to the criteria bar. And I even made it multi-selectable, so you can go here and say, I would like to see Amani and Marlboro at the same time, and then it'll filter down to those two brands as you like. And again, it's a global filter here, so of course it'll also apply to the other data objects.
Perfect. Thanks a lot. And Charles, I hope that somewhat answered. Of course, if not, then please do write in the chat again. There's also another question. It's not necessarily related to the user dimension, but instead to the maps. But let me just take it right away. There's a question asking if the map can be zoomed in if we're only selling in 3 countries, and yes, you can do that. You can also just include a map, a different map only showing Europe or only showing one country or one region. This is just an example. It's working with an SVG map file, so any SVG file can be used to visualize the data. Yeah.
You can see here, I just added customer territories, which is, by the way, Asia, Europe, North America. And when I pick one of these, I could pick Asia here. It will, by default, these maps will auto zoom to the selected areas.
Yes. So yes, you can zoom in, or you can also have a map that just shows specifically the 3 countries that you would like, or the one country that you like.
Exactly. Yes, that is true. If I go for this one here, if we were only working with the European countries, then maybe using the world map will be a bit of an overkill. So instead of using the world map here, you could go and then change the map image. And in this case, it would probably work just with the Europe map. And there you go. That's about it. You can have, there are some pre-installed maps with Target, but of course you can also add your own maps if you have an SVG file with areas, with country IDs, etc. It's just a matter of going here, change map image, and if you can't find the map that you really need on the predefined list here, you could go here, go create a folder. I already created one I call custom maps here, where I already imported some others ones, for instance, for Sweden here. But it's just a matter of going add image, and then of course somewhere in your file system you should then have an SVG file, a scalable vector graphics file with, for instance, a particular country. Right. If there aren't any more questions for this with the customer dimensions on the criteria bar, I'll move on to the next tip. All right. So the next tip is about using layers or using hotspots, etc. In other words, using all the new abilities that you have in targeting for putting objects on top of each other or behind, in front of each other, etc. And what we got here is a kind of a graphic in the background showing the flow of passengers through the airport. First, they arrive by cars into the car park. Then they go to the check-in and they go through security and they do a bit of shopping, etc. And then they get to the boarding. And all of these KPIs, these 5 KPIs you see here, might actually be something that an airport would be interesting in seeing as a main dashboard, a KPI dashboard, if you like. Well, the point here is, how did I actually produce this? If I go into design mode, first of all, I got a number of objects here, and I'm going to use this eye icon to hide my KPIs at first. And then I have 2 text boxes here, and if I hide the top one here, we actually get to the lowest level graphics, the one at the back. The further down you see it here, the further back it is, and you can move things to the front by moving these towards the top, etc. If you want to, you can also use these options here: bring to front, set to back, of course. But as you see here, I actually just had a graphic, and this one here, if we look into properties, is just using the text box object, and I'm using this layout, image and background. Then I went here and clicked image, and it was actually this PNG file that I put in here. So it's a PNG file, very much actually looking as you see it here. Now, if you just had this graphic and you weren't capable of putting that into an image editor, maybe to dim down the colors or whatever you like, then when you add some of your KPIs on top of that, like this one here, it might actually be a little bit difficult to read the text and the data. So you would actually like this image to be dimmed down. And a very easy way to do this is simply to apply another text box on top of this. So here we have a text box. It actually fills out the same area as the full canvas, or almost full canvas, the same area as the background image. And this text box, I simply went here and said, okay, I'm going to use this option here, that it should be background only. And then I added a background color to it. And this background color was a white color with an opacity of 70. I tried to put it at 80 here and click OK, and you'll see it will actually become a little bit more dimmed if I wanted that. So it's just a text box with a dimmed white color on top of that, and then your background image will also look dimmed. And then I could then add my KPIs on top of that, like this. And the next thing might be to introduce some hotspots. Of course, you can go here to each of these KPIs, as you see them here, are actually quite large already. And then you could go here and add a trigger to those. So when people point here and click, they will be brought to a more detailed analysis about car parking. However, the end user might expect that, all right, if I want to know more about the cars parked, I could probably click anywhere, maybe on the cars, maybe on the parking house here, etc. And well, this one doesn't really extend all the way over here. So that's why I'll introduce a hotspot. And a hotspot is essentially just another text box here. Nothing in there, totally transparent background, etc. The only thing you want to add here is actually the trigger itself. So I'm going to add a trigger here, and this one should then open a document and of course this one ought to be something with some car parking data. I don't have that, so I'm just pointing to something else. And okay, that. And then I'll just make sure that this hotspot is covering the area where I would expect my end users themselves would expect to be able to click. So maybe something like this. And furthermore, almost forgot it, this new empty text box, you can of course put in a mouse over text here. Open detailed car park dashboard. Maybe something like that. Okay, and then when the end user come here and point, so wherever they point, even over here on the car park house here, it will actually say that you got a trigger, but it's just this empty text box with the trigger upon it that will work as a, which I call a hotspot. And of course, you do that something similar for the other four KPIs. Right. Any questions related to that, Michael?
Yes, a little bit related, or at least related to the KPI gauges. There's a question if you can have more than 3 measures in a KPI graphic.
No, you can't. It's true. It's just three measures. You can have one. Actually, I only got a single one here, but otherwise you're right. If I go here, you see I just used a very standard one with a headline and the value. I'm not really using the label here, but the way target KPIs has been created is that it can work with up to 3 measures, 3 labels, 3 shapes, colorful shapes, and a single headline, and that's the most you can work with. However, I would say you don't really need to create a KPI with 3 measures directly. I would just normally just create 3 single value KPIs, and then again maybe use a background color and put these into the correct place so it looks nice.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Exactly.
I got plenty of time. I would like to show you another example here very quickly.
Plenty of time, 5-10 minutes, but okay.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought I had more, so I wouldn't do that.
But
okay.
I agree with your suggestion here, Ole, because in the latest target version, it's completely free flow design, so you can just place 5 individual KPIs right next to each other if you want to do that.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter that you cannot have more than 3 in an individual one. You can put 10 or 20, and yeah.
10 or 20, and then you can have a background graphic that kind of encapsulates these KPIs if you want to,
yeah,
in their correct positions. Yeah, I think it's become very easy to create a KPI dashboard nowadays. Right.
So let's do one more, at least, Ole, I think, and then.
Yeah, I think I'll do the one which is related to one of the things that Casper talked about initially, that we have something that it goes end of life when we get to the first release in 2021. Then these old reports or classical reports will no longer function. Right now, you can see it works here. It works in the 2019 version. It will also work in the 2020 version if it's released in October. But the first next released in 2021, it will be discontinued from that point on. In other words, if you have any of these old classical reports, then you need to make sure that you convert them into the new report format before you actually do an upgrade in 2021. And I'll show you how you can fairly easily do that because we also added some functionality here that makes it easy to copy and paste objects from one of the old reports like this one here. So we got an old report here, and actually this one is a 3-page report. It's sales manager. Now we're looking at Justin Cartwright, and over here, Parry Bradshaw here. So we got 3 pages here. So how would we handle that in a new report format? Well, you'll probably go here and say, I want to create a new blank report like this. Notice that I used my tab here because then it's easy for me to go back in and copy things and paste it over here. But since we don't have that much time, I think I'll have something that is slightly pre-cooked, this one here. And what I did on this one here, I just recreated the header up here. So that'll be the same header as this one here. Over here is just a text box and another text box down here with some dynamic content, actually just showing sales managers members as a dynamic content option from over here. And that is supposed to produce this one here. In the old report, this one has been defined as a group header thing. We don't have such a thing in the new report. Instead, we got what we call iterations, and I'll show you how it works in a minute. But before I do that, I would like to copy all of the data objects. So that'll be the KPI here and the pie chart and the crosstab and the line chart here. Those 4 data objects need to be copied over here. And it's fairly simple. You can click here, Control C, Control V, or I'll show you here that you can right click copy and paste over here. And then you can fairly quickly get these things over here in the new report format. Maybe something like this. Copy that and paste it here. It is a manual process. I know that there's no conversion from the old report format to the new one. So you need to put in a few man hours here. But if it's a report that you're already using in the old format, maybe you have a scheduled job, etc., set up for running that once every week, etc. I think it's definitely worth doing this. You need to do it. And the last one here will be my line chart. This one here, copy that and paste it over here. And this one should then go towards the bottom. Maybe here. So that's about it. And if we look at this, it will probably look okay. However, we have this thing about just states for this one here, that we are looking at the sales managers here on 3 separate pages, and that used to be handled by what we call a group header band over here. But in the new report format, you need to handle that with what we call an iteration. So on this single page report, I'll create a new iteration, and I will need to create an iteration crosstab. And what I need to put in here in this case is just the sales managers, and fetch states for that. Picks up those 3 sales managers. The report will be iterated 3 times. OK on that. And let's see the final result from this. Print to PDF. And indeed, seems like we're getting 3 pages. And this is what we look like. This is the new report format, Fina Tellwright, Justin Cartwright, etc. And just to go back here and look at the old report, it looked like this. Justin Cartwright here, and the new report just Cartwright. So I think it took me to maybe 2 or 3 minutes to cover these things. Of course, you may have many reports where you need to do this, but you need to do it before we discontinue the life of the old reporting engine by the beginning of 2021.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Ole. And yeah, I think we're running a little bit short of time, but just one comment. I actually got a question on this end of life a bit earlier on. End of life means that the version that is released after January 1st, 2021 will not have the old reporting engine. So it doesn't mean that what you have at the moment stops working, but of course you need to have a path to upgrade your reports to the new engine, which is also much nicer. Yeah, perfect. As you can hear, then Ole can tell a lot of tips and tricks. Unfortunately, we're out of time now. If there are some questions, do post them in the chat, and we'll pick them up at the end and either answer them or make sure to send you some questions. And you're of course also welcome to send questions to Casper or myself, and we will go through them with Ole as well. But now we're moving on to the next presentation, the next customer presentation, and I'm happy to have with us George Kogonas from Apivita in Greece. George is the IS director of Apivita. And let's see if we can get your screen on, George, and if we can get you unmuted as well.
Hello.
It's working.
Okay, that's great. Hello, thank you for your invitation. I'm happy to be part of this presentation. I understand that we have a short of time to present the collaboration that we have with Target all this year. My name is George Kogonas. I am the IS director of Apivita. And we will show you now how the journey began with Target. Apivita is a Greek company that was founded in 1979 from two pharmacists, Mr. Nikos Koutsianas and Mrs. Nikis Koutsiana, who was his wife. And at 1972, they created the first natural cosmetics with propolis and honey and royal jelly. At 1979, they create the company with the name Apivita, which means apis, which come from two words, apis, which means bee, and vita, which means life, and the whole world means the life of the bee. And at the present, Apivita promotes a whole way of life embodied in natural, effective, and holistic beauty solution for face, body, and hair. From 2017, Apivita is linked to a group with the name Puig. Puig is a very big brand, which has a lot of brands inside the company, like Paco Rabanne, Carolina Herrera, Jean-Paul Gaultier, Apivita and Urias, and Granado and Isdin in natural cosmetics. We have more than 300 sellable SKUs in very big categories about the cosmetics like face cleansing, hair care, face care, body and kids, express beauty, sun care, and lip and hand and soap. Now, the collaboration with Target started at 2010, and at this time, at this moment, more than 100 users using Target in a daily basis here in Greece and also in abroad. We have several departments and a lot of reports created for the sales and marketing department, financial department, manufacturing and production, retail, supply chains, and e-commerce. And we have to mention that back 2010, it was a very critical decision for the company to switch from Excel reporting and go to another point of view of the data and become a data-driven company. It has been a lot of work done with our Target consultants and also here internally to the company to convince people that they have to move on and go away from the Excel files, the static reports, and go to see the data with another point of view, like dashboards, like very beautiful charts, and to convince them also that their job is to take decision to understand what the client needs and not to create the data. I will show you some of major dashboards that we have created, and all the users from a management level until end user are using daily. For example, here we can see a very useful dashboard about the sales department with 4 KPIs at the bottom of the screen, at the top of the screen, separated the results to year to date and also with month to date results compared it with the budget and last year actual. They can see also the analysis in detail about per market share, and this analysis drill down until customer code. This is a very useful report. They are using it every day. Also, this is another chart. We categorize this report as a top-level management report in order every day to have a very clear view about the performance of the company regarding the year-to-date actual sales, comparing with the budget and previous year-to-date. Also to see the comparisons charts and also the contribution per category to the total revenue of the company. Also, we have developed a lot of reports in order to be more efficient for the production and manufacturing department, in order to have a clear view of the production quantities, regarding the budget, and also compared it with the previous year. Also, they can see what they have produced during the weeks of the year, and also which categories have been increased or decreased. They can see also the performance of the production machines at the top right of this slide regarding the budget, and also compared it with the previous year. And finally, the most difficult part was to agree the financial results from Target with our ERP. As probably most of you know, always it was a very big gap, this project. So we have analyzed all the requirements from the financial department, and we have created a very custom report in Target that present all the sales and expenses, all the profit and loss, I mean, from a cost center dimension drilled down until a document number. That was very useful. Everybody from the management level until the budget holder of a department can have a clear view about his expenses, the comparison with the budget, the comparison with the previous year expenses. So it was a very difficult project, and also a very helpful about the company. Now, our latest project called RFM. RFM has the meaning of 3 words: recency, frequency, and monetary. It was a very big need for the company to understand the sales characteristics of the customers. We would like, the need was to find out how many customers they buy our products, how often they buy, and how recently they buy. That means that RFM analysis is a proven marketing model for the behavior based about customer segmentation. To be more clear, if the customers bought in the recent past, they get higher points. If they bought a lot of times, they also get higher points. And if they spend bigger, that means that they have a very big revenue, they get higher points. All these 3 scores, we have combined it to one score, which is called RFM. What we try to do with the RFX segmentation, we'd like to help our sales and marketing department to answer to 3 major questions: how to speak a common language across our organization in reference to our customers, how to calculate and rank the importance of each customer, and how to effectively monitor the evolution. And the most important is that if we see the score of each customer or a group of customers, we have to do an action. We have to reward them. We have to be careful if we might lose this customer. So what we try to do, and we manage to do, is to cluster a lot, thousands of customers in the majority pharmacies, in order to target them with communication that are much more relevant for their particular behavior. Now, I would like to switch off and go to present you live in Target this exactly project. So give me a sec to switch off. I don't know if you are okay. You can see my screen.
Yeah,
Target.
I see it. So I think we're okay.
Okay, that's good. So in this report, you can see 4 major objects. At the first object, you can see at the left top corner, you can see that we have 5 major clusters about the customers. The customers are separated in high value, low value, medium value, attention, and inactive. And you can see the the percentage that they contribute to the total revenue of this project. For example, our high value customer are 4.3%, and they are further divided into champions and loyals. So that means that high value are separated in loyal and champions. Medium value customers are separated in potential loyalists promising new customers. Low value, they are separated in need attention, about to sleep, and also with the same way the other two major categories. For each subgroup, the model provides recommendation for action. That means that, as I can see here, 2.3%, I have here a signal, I have a comment, I have to reward them. They can be early adopters for new products, will promote your brand. Or for example, if I go here, you can see that 0.3%, they need attention. We have to make limited time offers. So we are notice marketing people to do an action about this customer. On the right bottom corner, we can see the last 10 scores. Just to mention that every month the model evaluates customers for a rolling 12-month period. That means from here, I can select a rolling 12-month period and see the results. If I click at the next menu, the details, we can see at the left top corner an analysis how many customers scored in the last evaluate period. For example, for this period that I have selected here from the dimension bar, we have 11,000 customers scored. This customer has 612,000 customer contacts. That means that they have these are invoices when we say contacts, and the average contacts was 52. The revenue of all these customers was 64 million euro, and the average revenue of each customer was 5.5 thousand euros. On the bottom, at the right corner, we can see the segment in which our customer fall. That means that we have 448 new or reactivation from the customer group. We have 320 that was out or they have been deactivated. So the result is 128. And also we can see the classification here, how many customers by segment. Now, for example, if I want to compare two periods, as you can understand, this is a very big object, I can click here a new tab and open again the same report. And also select a different period. For example, this one. And very quickly to have a comparison between these two rolling 12 months. Now, if we click on the combination analysis, we can see some very useful statistics. In the left top corner analysis, we can see the combination between recency and frequency and how customers are distributed within this combination. That means that we have categorized with very short cluster 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, for example, for the recency, and also the same one for frequency. And we can see where are the customers distributed. Next to it, it is a similar object with the combination between the frequency and the monetary of the customers. And also at the bottom left, we can see the average recency that each group has in this rolling 12 months. Now, according to the trends, this is a very useful dashboard. We have grouped the major categories of the cluster that we referred before, and we can see, for example, that high value group trend that we started with 2,032 customers before 12 months, and now these customers have been 271. The same with also the second level categorization we can see for the other groups. And this is the most important dashboard that shows us how many customers we lose or how many customers we gain. At the top left object, as you understand, our target is to move customers from the lower ranks to the higher ranks. So by taking the necessary actions according to the cluster we have targeted, we expect customers to shift to higher ranks. For example, at the last period that we have updated the report, we have lose 2,100 customers, and we have upgrade 652 customers. Also, we can see at the medium value group that how many customers per scoring have they been moved. This is a very useful dashboard because the most important for us is not to lose champion customers and also to promote the customers from the lower levels to a higher level, as you can understand. That was the special project that we ran with Target at the last month. I have to refer that it was a very important project and for IT and for the company to change the culture of the users, to try to give them all the tools and the opportunity to understand what they see and how the data represent the culture of the company, and to try to show them that their job is to make decisions, to do actions, and to find out the reasons and the goals that they have to achieve.
Perfect. Thank you so much, George. This was really interesting to see, and I think also from the comments in the chat, your project about your customer segmentation, the RFM score, is a really interesting project, and I think I can say for most people in sales and marketing, this is something that is really useful, and I think it gave a lot of good inspiration, and on top of that, it was also really was nicely designed, and I think it gave probably the most important thing. It gave a really clear call to action. You could see what was going on. You also had the comments saying, okay, if customers are in this group, maybe it would be an idea to do this. If they are in this group, maybe you should do this. So that was really cool. So thanks, George.
Thank you very much.
Any last minute questions to George here before we move on to the last presenter? No, I think that was it. Of course, if there are questions afterwards, feel free to send them to Casper or myself, and we will certainly ask the questions to the relevant people and get you some answers. But now let's move on to the last section, last presentation for today, which is Christian Becker from 365. This is a little bit maybe special presentation. They have a very interesting project that Christian will tell much more about, but that they call Open Data Minded. and we thought we'll bring in this to give you some inspiration on how BI can also be used in a way where it's maybe not only looking at sales and financial information. So Christian, if you're able to take over the screen and unmute yourself, then the stage is yours for 15 minutes or so. Can you, there you are, perfect. You just have to unmute yourself. No?
Hello? Hello?
Yeah.
Okay. We tried now with the phone. Sorry for that hassle.
No problem. It's working now.
Can you still hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
It's a shame. Hello?
Yeah, hello. We can hear you. I think, Christian, now you don't have any, we can hear you, but you can't hear us.
Am I in?
Yeah, I don't think you can hear us.
Immer noch? Hi, Thomas, you can hear me? This is funny. You can still hear me, but I can chat with my colleague in the phone, but my microphone is not offering it. I try to go back now, sorry, into the Teams session. And it seems some Apple microphone issue. But you cannot see my screen.
Right now, we can't see your screen, no. We can hear you. Okay, I think we have a little bit issue here. I don't know if Christian is able to share his screen.
Was ist hier?
Christian, I don't know if you can hear us. Casper, can you share your screen? Is there a problem with screen sharing? Maybe, Casper, do you think we should move on to the last part and then see if we get it working in the meanwhile?
Yeah, let's do that. I'm not sure if there's an echo on my microphone still, but yeah, let's move to the last part and see if Christian can get the technical aspects ready.
Am I in again?
You are in, yeah, but
Oh, you can hear me.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. So sorry for the interruption, but I had some network issues with home office and so on, and German Telecom and Max, so everything came together.
No problem at all.
Yeah, thank you. I hope the quality is not too bad. I can hear me now twice, but I will start now with the presentation, if that is okay. So yeah, what we actually did, or what I have seen, is a lot of great dashboards, great reporting analytics, and as you said, Michael, we are more in the field of generating data that actually is not there for enterprises, is not there to be used. So our open data minded strategy or approach was actually, how can we make data available for our clients to actually optimize processes with data that are not structured in a structured form available for the company, and how we can then actually support decision making in, for example, marketing processes, marketing challenges, but also sales challenges. So actually, what we did with open data minded in the automotive industry, we work for a client who actually wants to develop an uncompromising off-roader, so to say, so a Land Rover Defender for the next century. And what we found out 2 years ago was, if we do now do research and apply research, digital research, online research, for what are the expectations of our customers in the future, which will actually be from now on in 2 years, it wouldn't be very valid information that we generate now, because in 2 years of time, a lot of things change. So we actually challenged the client to think beyond research and say, yes, we have research, we can ask a lot of questions, but we need all that dynamic, all that agile data being available for describing our customers and our market also in the future. So our first thing was, we need to understand our market. So what are actually the
the participants in a market? What are the competitors doing? What are, in that term, off-road drivers really want to do? And from that whole, as you can imagine, social noise that we have in here, we combined that with the structured metrics of research in designing segments, in designing actually personas that describe our prospect users and buyers. For example, the lifestyle owner of a 4x4 is a complete different customer than the utilitarian who wants to have a very practical car, who needs to pull things out, pull things in the forest, pull things to the sea, to the harbor, and the enthusiast who actually wants to maybe go around the world in his car. So a lot of things can change within that cluster within the next couple of years. In that for that client, it's a horizon of more than 3 years when he brings in the car. So we actually wanted to start now with a process of segmenting the future market and describing those personas, those segments, as personal as possible. And so we looked into the social universe, and then you can see how differently people actually use their car, how different customer environments do look like. The one has a polished Wrangler, a polished Land Rover in his garage in a suburbia of New York, Boston, or London, and the other one is making his car really dirty and needs it as a workhorse. So from that point on, we really worked together with a client in thinking of how can we use open data that is available in the internet, that is available in social media, that is available on Amazon, on YouTube, whatsoever. And actually, we defined a process from the left to the right who actually uses all kind of input, also unstructured information. That is our main goal, actually, to make that whole social and cluttered data from the internet available in a constant stream of data. And then we had a kind of matching matrix where we put in research and sales figures and so on to the right side, where we actually have a complete developed a data model which reflects all those different data points that we have within the company, of course, especially when we start with a product in a time of 3 years in the future. We will have, of course, sales data available in 3 years, but not now. So we already started with a data model that reflects the future in terms of sales data, customer data, CRM data, and so on. But we started now with generating data from the open space of the internet, describing our future segments. And our focus with Target was actually that we came from our perspective to the point where we had a strategic cockpit, we had a strategic tool, which actually develops during the last 1.5 years to the point that we can describe very illustrative our segments. But now from that point on, we needed a solution which actually brings in the data to the enterprise and to the different units, like the market communication team, like the product and service team. And this was actually the point where we started with Target to build up now the operational level for that whole data view we had in the first thing, now to make the data available for the marketeers, for the sales teams, to actually plan now their market starts, their market setup, where to put, for example, sales or service stations, and where can we actually start with marketing. So this was actually our project. We dived in with Target 3 months ago, so we are pretty young in that sphere, and we developed a dashboard on the other side, but now a more operational dashboard, which helps us now to describe those different personas, those different segments now for the marketeers. And what you see now is actually a marketing dashboard, which is the first level of dashboards we bring in the organization, which helps us to connect all those people in the enterprise. We started with a team of 10. Now it is a team of 200 people sitting in the company. And we now use all our type of research data, but also all the attributed AI analyzed and condensed data for helping those 200 guys now to understand, for example, the competition in the automotive market. So we know that there are Land Cruisers in the world. We want to start with our product. We have a very strong heritage product like the Land Rover Defender. So it is very, very essential for us to understand what is the competitor doing. On the other side, we have the purchase motivation, which is actually also a dimension we developed from the research and attributed it to social content, which gives us an impression of what could be motivators for purchasing a 40,000 euro off-road car. And is it social interaction which the people want to reflect with their car, or do they really need something to feel the vehicle, or being enabled to use the car for doing stuff? So all those dimensions we actually developed, and we connected them now with the live data on the one side, but now bringing them into the marketeers, so they have a very, very solid base to decide how to structure their communication, what are the contents they want to put into their brand or marketing communication. And also we tried to describe their hobbies. On the one side, from the research, we deployed around about 30,000 worldwide complete interviews. And those interviews consisted of around 70 dimensions we questioned the people. And those were actually then transferred to our social scoring. And then we can find out what are actually the main interesting hobbies for our target users. And we can very easily now with Target take on the discussion with the marketeers and help them actually to describe their future customers, but also their future or their actual audience for marketing communication. Imagine we have communication for that client who not have a product now in the market. And so everything we deliver now can help this client very, very straightforward with having planning insights for marketing communication for their different target segments. And with Target, we were actually able to build with the dashboards a core essence and a very, very focused approach of actually bringing the data to the decision level in the company, which is marketing communication, brand communication. As you can see, it is very, very very essential to understand that we have a complete different mindset in different markets. For example, if we go to the enthusiast, who is actually a person who is using the car in more than adventure and going out of the town, out of home type of way, they want to explore with their car. It's very, very different to use that car within, for example, Italy, or using it in Germany. So for the one side, camping can be a very, very strong trigger, for example, and outdoor sports in general are a big hobby. On the other side, it might be that water sport, especially in America, where we just deployed our research 2 weeks ago. It is very, very essential to know that the people in North America, especially Canada, are using boats and their cars for trailering their boats. So this is actually where we are able with Target now to use our gold mine, like one of our clients says, the gold mine data that we have in our database, to use that data now to make it very, very practical and actionable for marketing processes, brand communication, CRM communication, in a field where the client now doesn't have a clue to who he wants to communicate, who is the most potential client in the future, and what are the contents and the content segments actually that could be relevant for brand partnerships, for events, and so on. So this is actually a very, very brief look into that data. And just for your imagination, we are talking here about 500 gigabyte on social data we crawled and generated during the last 1.5 years. That doesn't include image or video sizes. This is only database volume, and we attributed around 500,000 social contents with all those attributes that you can see here. So we have a very, very live and real-time look on a constantly moving market of off-road potential clients, which we now bring into the as I said, to the action level now, where we start with brand marketing. We will have a reveal in the next 2 weeks of the future car, the first look of that car. So it's very, very interesting journey where we can enable the client with data that he wouldn't have in a normal way. And with Target, we are able actually to connect the big data with now the very, very cluttered challenges that you have in an organization.
Looks very nice, Christian. I don't know if you can hear us now.
Yes, now I can hear you. Sorry for reloading.
No problem. There's maybe a little bit of echo, but let me just try to put a few comments here. As mentioned, it looks really, really nice, and I think this is a very, very good example of how BI is not just sales data, finance data, production data. It can also be big data, open data, social data. Everything can come together. And Christian, as you say, then right now you don't have sales data. So this is kind of where you start, but then in 3 years, then of course this data can maybe then be combined with sales data, and all the time you can bring in new intelligence to the users. So I think this is a really, really good example, and I hope it gave some nice inspiration to the people in the session.
Yeah.
Perfect. Any questions? I think we just have time for a question before just jumping to the last slide. Caroline is saying that it's an excellent use of dashboards and menus to display open data, big data, and I agree. I also like all your pictures, your visualization. It really illustrates very well what you're looking at. So that's very nice.
Yeah, this is I think also for the client, I can tell you it was a complete new experience. Because he was coming from the Excel world, and we are trying to challenge him. Think in a data model, and if you think in a data model, let's talk about questions you have, challenges you have from your business perspective, and then make it as easy for you to answer the questions on a very dynamic way. Now you see that there are some data points missing, of course, for that demo, but at the end, BI really, really changes now the understanding of the value of data for that client. And I think this is a very, very strong impact that you can have with BI, but you need to think first in structuring the data to get the most out. But it's exactly what you said. If you do that journey, I think, and to do the challenge with the client, you can then produce impactful data that helps then every stuff in the enterprise on a very, very easy way that is not available without having a BI solution by hand.
Yeah, exactly. There's actually a question here, Christian. The data, the information, is that from the interview database, or is it the data that you crawled from? Yeah.
It is actually open data is a hybrid model we developed. So this is also the reason why you see sometimes empty spots here and no data point. We have those interviews on the one side which flow into the big data cube we have. And on the other side, we built statistical twins and archetypes, so to say, out of the research, and we actually attribute in the first phase by hand the different personas. So we already have a connection of research data, which is always linked to a so-called persona and to the market. But we combined also the social crawling we have. We have an own crawling technology from our side in that tooling, and the connection of the research static data and the crawling data is actually the persona matching. So what we built here is actually a view of on the one side, statistic data from the research, like the ages or the vehicle usage. But what you see in the details of that level especially is then, or that level over here in the first line, this is already a combination of our attributes we add to the social content. And that attribution is actually in the data model. It is the persona matching and the market matching, as I said before. But now we are also in the phase where we have round about 30 to 50,000 training data attributions in our system, and we can now, and we are starting more and more to attribute now by artificial intelligence and machine learning those attributes here. Is that content more realistic for people interested in authenticity or in trust and patience? So we are here already in a hybrid solution which combines static data from research and dynamic data from social crawling.
Very cool, very cool. And I think Nico also got the answer to the question here. So perfect. Christian, thanks a lot for showing this. This was a very interesting perspective. And yeah, as mentioned, we also brought this to show you something which is maybe not what you, at least for years, have been defining as classic BI, but this is indeed the future. So if you're not already looking into also using external data, open data, big data, then probably you should start doing it. So thanks again, Christian, and
thank you.
I think we also spent all our time. So Casper, if we just jump to the last slide, just to wrap things up. Again, thanks all of you for joining, and a special thanks to all the presenters. Some really interesting cases, different perspectives, but very nice use of BI, use of Target. It was great inspiration for me, and I hope also the participants liked what they saw. We did take, I think, most of the questions during the session, but if you have questions here afterwards, please do send them to myself or to Casper. Or to your partner, who can then pass on the questions to us. Then of course we will be happy to answer. If you're not already signed up for Target newsletter, then we encourage you to do so, or encourage your colleagues to do so. We won't spam you, but this is of course how we also invite to events like this one, to webinars and so on. So yeah, it's very nice to be signed up for that. E-learning, I think Sander in the first session talked a little bit about training and e-learning. This is a platform that we have at Target, where we took all our Target classes, Target training, and put it into an e-learning context. This is something that all customers can purchase access to. And it's 685 euro for 12 months, full access to all courses. So if you want to know a little bit more about that, then again, please do reach out to us. I think Casper mentioned it, new Target version expected in October 2020. We will have a webinar a little bit later on with some more information. There was also some webinars in the Target week that will be available as recordings. So if you didn't see them, then check them out afterwards to get an idea a little bit more what's coming. We're also on the verge of coming up with a new product, you can say, Target Cloud, which is a full cloud version of Target. But that we're also going to have more information about in the fall. So do keep your eyes open for additional information on that. Then lastly here, I put a little pointer, which is a little bit unsure still. Of course, we usually do in a number of countries physical user groups where we actually can meet face to face. We have not been able to do that this year. We are thinking about doing it in November. Of course, it depends a little bit how everything is going with the COVID-19 situation, but we actually also want to hear your input. So as customers, if we are doing something in November, would you participate, or would you actually rather have that maybe we do another online as right now and wait with a physical one until 2021. So we consider doing it, but we would also like your input. So if you have inputs for that, please do reach out to us. And then just a few things here to remember: newsletter sign up, target.com/newsletter, documentation, lots of good stuff on Target, doc.target.com, inspiration, solutions.target.com. It was also mentioned by Sander, I think, a little bit earlier. Very nice page for some great inspiration, also some live solutions on there that you can check out. And finally, the e-learning portal. If you're already a user, you can access it here. But of course, if you purchase access, then this is where you get the Target e-learning. Yeah. Again, thanks a lot for joining. That was it for me. I don't know if you have any last comments, Kasper.
No, I don't think so. Again, special thanks to the presenters, and I think it was really, really, really interesting. And lastly here, I would like to say that I know that this was a short amount of time where we need to cover a lot of ground. Again, we are hoping this is the first time doing it, and we're hoping to actually repeat doing online sessions as well, combined with doing physical user groups still. So you'll probably see more of this sort going forward. So you do not have to spend a whole day at a time to get inspiration from other customers. But we're learning, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I definitely enjoyed the comments in the chat function. So I wish everyone a good weekend when you get there, and please sign up for the rest of the activities we have for the Target Week. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Take care.